So now we are going to talk about the difference between UX and UI, difference between user experience and user interface. In the last video, we talked about the definition of user experience. So now we will be taking a closer look between the difference between the two. So the key differentiator between UI and UX is what they focus on and how the user interacts with them. So UI focuses on the visual interface elements such as the typography, colors, menu bars, and more, while UX focuses on the user and their journey throughout the product. So UX, as you can see right from here, is more of an all-encompassing, a holistic view of the product, of how the user is going through the entire journey from acquisition to the use to the later stages. But the UI is solely focused on how they will interact with it or what they will see. So this is a pretty good table I got from Maze. So user interface, it refers to the visual elements that allow users to interact with the product. It focuses on the look and feel of the product, typography, colors, images, and more. The goal is to make products more usable, aesthetically appealing, and optimized for different screen sizes. While user experience is about the feelings and emotions user experience when interacting with the product. It focuses on the overall user friendliness of the user journey. It's not just limited to the product, but it's before the product as well, how they get to the product, the company website, the word of mouth, the marketing strategy, all of that is also part of UX. Then we have the goal is to delight users with a product that is efficient and easy to use. So these are, so as you can see, UX, what it deals with is the intangible, which you cannot see, which you cannot touch, but you can experience. But UI is something you can actually see in front of you. It is tangible in nature. So that's like a very overview summary of the two. UI is all about the visual parts. We have discussed that, like color schemes, navigation elements, button styles. UX, on the other hand, focuses on how a user moves through the product and what guides them. So UX is more structural, where UI is more visual. In the world of design, there are a few well known debates that are never quite settled. This is one of the big ones. While countless analogies explain how these two design concepts fit together, pinning down a definitive answer has proved pretty much impossible. These are two of the most popular posts I have seen on LinkedIn to differentiate between UI and UX, but both of them are sort of incorrect because this UI has got a UX as well. It's a bad UX, but there is a UX. And same with here, we have a UI, this bottle, which you can see it is a UI, but the UX is considered better. But interestingly, in the restaurants, you will still find these ones because, again, the UX, it gives away with the glass bottle and everything. It's more elegant in nature. So this doesn't work. This distinction is incorrect. Same with here, this UX, I mean, sure, this is an experience which is more preferred and desired by the users. But again, you can actually see that this is a path which is sort of worn down a bit. It's not bricked. So it has got a UI of its own, but it's not as good looking as this UI, which is the more bricked and structured pathway. But again, the UX is not preferred. So again, this is the wrong way of differentiating between the two, and even more so, this says user experience. This says design. Like UX is something besides design entirely. So these things can go pretty wild. So don't associate your entire understanding of these concepts to these images. They are not as binary in nature. So if you're new to the world, or especially interviewing for design, having a general understanding of how and when to use these terms is very important, because I think UX versus UI is like a very important question every interviewer asks in the interview, just so that it's a filter check where the designer actually is in terms of their fundamentals. So you need to be very strong here. Imagine you are designing a house. UX would be the foundation, while UI would be the paint and furniture. I really like this one, that's why I've introduced here. Now these are the sorts of analogies which make sense, right? Because they actually talk about uh, the places in the process each of they occur. Like they are part of the design, but UX work usually happens before we progress to the UI. part of the process. So this example gives you a rough analogy of how design responsibilities are split between UX designers and UI designers working on a product. So this is so in the past, when design was not this much mature, UX and UI designers were one thing, UX slash UI designers. But now that we are moving towards a more mature state, and every designer is essentially specializing in whatever they like most, so there is a split in design responsibility between the two. So first, the logical flow of actions and fundamental parts are put in place, and then the visual details are defined. This visual details are defined is the responsibility of visual designers and UI designers, while logical flow of actions and fundamental parts are put in place by UX designers. This does in no way mean UX designers should not be well versed in how visual details would be added, how, because you cannot actually lay down the foundations if you cannot foresee the end state of those foundations. And similarly, you cannot put in the paint on the foundations if you cannot understand the foundations. So it's just a split in design responsibilities. It's not a split in design knowledge. Both of these professions need to understand and know how the other profession works. Not in that much of a detail, but still they do need a bit of understanding. Then this is a good illustration again. So UI is something what the user sees, but behind the scenes we had user research, wireframe, prototype, user testing, information architecture. This might be in collaboration with UI designers, but this is what UX actually is, where we are working out the best possible user experience for the user. What the user sees, it's the visual design is wireframes and prototype, responsive design, brand guidelines, animation, and interaction design. So these are primarily managed by the UI design team, but again, UX has got a say in these topics, and UI similarly has got their input on these processes as well. So it's a very collaborative way of working. It also gives you a sense of how the collaboration works, right? What we were talking about with UX designer handing their work and recommendations over to the UI team once core concepts are tried and tested. Now, this gives away a very waterfall method, like first UX designers work on it, then they give it to the UI design team and they work. That's not how it actually works. It's more of a collaborative effort. At all times, both of the teams know what is happening with the product. So the roles of UX and UI are being redefined all the time. So that's something that's continuously happening. In 3 years, the definitions will have shifted from what they are now into an exact. So it's not an exact science. We cannot pin down this is something what a UX designer does, this is something what a UI designer. These things are always being changed. Now we have product design, which is UX and UI and business as well. So things are. This is still an emerging profession, but things are going to change, but the fundamentals will remain the same. So we need to get a strong hold on that. With the app and product design space still rapidly growing, newer and more specialist roles, terms like UX writer, content designer, interaction design are popping up all the time. The way we think about design is always evolving. That's part of what it makes an exciting field to be a part of. So yeah, if you really enjoy this evolution of the profession while you're in it, then this is the profession for you. So while it's good to have an analogy up your sleeve that explains your view of the UI and UX debate, remember that there is no definitively correct answer yet. And if you want an analogy in the debate, then this is the right way to go. Imagine you're designing a house. UX would be the foundation, while UI would be the paint and furniture. This is better than these analogies, which are just incorrect. So yeah, that's the difference between UX and UI. Hope this video was helpful. In the next video, we are going to talk about what does a UX designer do exactly. So we are going to take a deep dive on the roles and responsibilities of a UX designer. We are going to see firsthand what UX design actually is and what do they actually do in this profession. So I'll see you in that video. Thank you for watching.